remodeled in the 40s, which the church sat just to the south side here. I believe I was told this faced to the south, and the back side of the church, would have been over to here. But there's
so it was in this yard?
Yeah, right just on the south side of the fence here, because there's another driveway where you can see that wood post.
Right.
That was the driveway that went into the church.
Flip that button on that up.
So did it sit this way or that way?
It faced north and south.
Yeah.
I always thought it would have faced like this would have been to the west, but my dad said no, it faced north and south.
So the front door was
on the south side. Yep.
That's unique.
And the picture you can see.
Remembers, huh? Huh? Do you remember?
Yeah.
So in 1880, August Bishop came up from Iowa with the Iowa Synod Lutheran Church, and he founded Dennewitz. Postal was 3 miles west of Kaler. Tripp was actually known as Friedenstal, which I really didn't know that until I kind of read the book here a little bit. He founded the Tripp Church, Colm Church, which would be about 6 miles north of here. And there was 2 by Parkston, Eigenfeld, and I think Rosenfeld. There was 6 or 7 churches that were part of the Emmanuel Parish. And he was the pastor here, like I said, in 1880. This area, okay, Philip Frederick Sr. back here would be my great-great-grandfather. He came over with 2 of his boys, which would be into Betty's relation that way. One of the boys would have been your great-great-grandfather, I think, the John Frederick,
Yep.
and my great-grandfather Philip Frederick Jr. And then there was a Stickel, I think, daughter, and one was married to the Ziegler. Yet that way he came over with 4 or 5 of his kids.
Yep.
In 1877. The church didn't get started until 1880 here, and the book said the first building they built was in 1888. In the book here, they show a picture of the original church before they remodeled, because when they remodeled, they built onto the back side of the church, they built on the front side of the church and put a balcony in it in, I think, 45, I believe it was. And then in the book in 55, they had their 75th anniversary, and the church closed in 1961. And most of the people went to the Tripp Church that way. Goes north of here. Okay, in 1890, since Kaler was kind of the center of the churches that way, they had a parsonage that was over here. This used to be a beets farm over here, but originally a parsonage was over there. They had a parochial school there. They said they built that in 1890. And in 1903, lightning struck the parsonage in school, and it burned everything down. So that was the end of the school that way then. But south here would have been Ziegler's and Frederick's. West here was kind of the Vetters. So I think and the Stickel, I think, would have been
Beetses were there.
Yeah, Beetses were on to the north that way then. But that was kind of the main families that would have been the start of the church, because it would have been like in 1880 the church started. The railroad didn't come through until 1886. That came to Tripp that way then in 1886. So.
Did the church get moved to Scotland?
Yes, that's what we were just talking with Marvin Toom there. They said too, the church, I know Dad had told me that too, the school had shop classes in there or so for a few years, and then it got tore down that way at least then.
And I thought they said the Assembly of God church used it.
No, I don't think so. I thought the school had it, and then after that I thought they said it got tore down. That's what the deal would have been there. They had their German church services here, I think, till 52 or 55. Everything was all in German. And too, I know they said the men sat on the right side, the women sat on the left side at the church that way too yet. But the church never had running water in it. They did put basement under it in 45, and they raised the church, built onto it, and put the basement under that way then.
No running water, no indoor plumbing.
Go. So then, like I said there in Kaler, the Colm Church would have been about 6 miles north of here, and like I said, in 24 or whatever, the new church in Parkston was built, and then the Colm congregation bought that church, and then in 48 the Colm Church closed, and then the Kaler Church bought the Colm Church and moved it to Kaler, and that old church in Kaler got moved to Parkston that way then.
Musical churches.
So then, there was the Postal Church, was 3 miles west of Kaler, yet that was part of the Emmanuel Parish.
Church by that cemetery?
Yeah, I think it was by Verlin's yard, because there's still some concrete there yet, which seemed odd that the cemetery would have been a half mile away. So did they bury somebody there first? That they started a cemetery before they started a church? Decided.
If it's north of where their trees are?
Yeah, it's in the trees there. You can still see some concrete foundation there yet. And the back row here is pretty much all babies that way. They're unmarked graves in the whole back row. Some of my grandmother's brothers and sisters, I think they lost about 3 or 4 babies. At least just alone would be from those that way. Then they put little square cement deals in to mark it a little bit, but that's as far as that went.
There's also some down babies.
Yeah, there's a few over here too. I have a cousin buried over here in that end yet, but I think by the time they kind of got down there, you can see they started having some stones, you know, but over here, most of them were all babies, so they didn't even bother to put a stone up that way then.
Those metal crosses are kind of what we seen when we were over in Russia.
Yeah.
They use a lot of great markers like that over there.
Yeah, I think the one says
that would be probably kind of a tradition brought from there.
could be. I think it says 1889 or whatever. The one's a shtickle, which, like I said, I think would have been my great grandfather's.
Catholic cemetery in Tabor has a lot of them.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of us in North Dakota. I'm not sure why, but maybe they got more iron
From
than.
Russia, so
Well, that's true.
It's hard to read names on those.
I think it's a shtickle, I think, that way, which I think, like I said, would have been, you know, a sister married, or Ziegler, or, you know, Frederick had married a shtickle, I think, that way. And I know they all go to North Dakota from here that way then. STU, I think with the umlaut on KLE, I think, that way, or EL, shtickle.
What church takes care of this?
The church where we're just in Trip, that way. Our church there, the First American, takes care of this, yeah. When they closed the church down that time, they sold the property and formed a cemetery association. So there is some money in a CD that helps take care of the church. Just last fall, we started putting the chain fence around it and finished it here.
Very nice.
This spring here, that way at least. And
Very nice. It's sad when it's not maintained.
so, I mean, the Kaler Church would have been the last of the Emmanuel parishes that way then. I know everybody always said, I'm sure you went to Bible school in Kaler. Bible school was always in Kaler that way. They never did have it out here that way. Then they always met all in Kaler.
And catechism school.
Okay. I know some say they had a water truck there for the kids for water during Bible school. Or
We had to bring our own.
when he said they had a lot more, so I said they always had a water truck there in Kaler when they had Bible school.
Can you show that photo so that it's caught
Yeah,
on the
anybody
camera here?
I can hand everything around that way. That was their 75th anniversary book, what they had in 1955. That was the remodeled church. And there is a picture of the original church. That was the
This one
original
here.
church. Yeah, that was the original Dennewitz church.
Yeah.
This August bishop, he had founded the churches here. He stayed a few years. Then he went back to Iowa, and then he was pastor in Tripp. And I know they said, I think there's a bishop baby that's buried here, and he also has one buried in the Tripp. They lost a number of their kids, they said, that way as he was pastor.
I touched this thing and it does all this crazy. No, I didn't.
Okay, this name Capel, I see that must have been, there's one. That one is
Okay.
That must be some relation to the pastor.
That I'm not sure either. I mean, it was, Keppel was kind of a popular German name too.
It's just pretty nice to have this book.
There's a number of them around. That's the only one I know we have that way. But
Yeah.
that would have been the Kaler congregation. They had their anniversary at the same time. So there's a picture in there of everybody on the Dennewitz yet too. But that is the church, the German-Russian church.
Okay, the one in town.
Yes, in town. That would have been that church there already, which was originally the Cologne
Oh, this
church.
is the Dennewitz.
Yeah, that's the Dennewitz.
Wow.
That was in 1955. I thought Betty was on the picture, and she said no, she wasn't there that Sunday.
I played hooky.
And then they took the picture to prove that you had. That's quite a congregation then.
Yeah, in 45, it would have been 55, that would have been, yeah.
And this is the Colm Church you're talking about.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Which is the Kaler Church today.
What's still there?
Yeah, it's still there. The one the German Russians met in was the Colm Church, which was the original Parkston Church.
Okay. Neat.
I just thought I'd bring it along too, or whatever that way. I'm not sure if anybody would have any extras. I know Morse had his that way then. The book. Otherwise, I
Thank you much.